I want to ask you about Israel because
Sure.
there are many tentacles, I guess running each way between military, the 8200 unit,
Hmm.
and Silicon Valley. It's an incestuous relationship which you've written about.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things here. So I would say that a major pillar, not just of Netanyahu, but really going back to the early 90s in Israel, has been to empower their venture capital ecosystem. And it began with state backing really significantly in the early 90s. But Netanyahu, throughout his lengthy time as prime minister, has made that a major priority. And back in 2012, it actually became Israeli policy to have basically some of these startups that are incubated by veterans of Unit 8200 and some of these other Israeli intelligence agencies that involve technology to a significant degree, to have them conduct operations that were previously done in house by Mossad or Unit 8200. So basically, to use them as fronts is essentially what the admitted policy began. And in the Israeli media report that documents this, they note that a firm like Black Cube, for example, which has been called to privatize Mossad, was one of the companies that was developed under this policy. But presumably, there's a lot of other companies that also operate this way, and it's important to note that in the same period of time, you had a neoconservative and Zionist mega donor to the GOP, Paul Singer, team up with people from Netanyahu's office to develop something called Startup Nation Central, which was framed as a way to prevent the United States from ever meaningfully adopting the boycott, divest, sanctions movement, or BDS, by basically marketing Israeli startups, particularly in technology, to American companies and also to the US government. And of course, the US government contracts with significant Unit to 8200 companies. For example, the NSA in the mid 2000s had an Israeli Unit 8200 linked company develop its backdoors into popular software programs. Carbon 911 that I brought up earlier, also Unit 8200, created and now controlling a litany of 911 emergency call centers throughout the U.S. There's a lot of companies that have popped up to do so, and also you've seen a lot of these Silicon Valley giants, Google, Microsoft, Intel, recruit heavily from Unit 8200 and also open offices in Israel. Though, of course, some of those, in the case of Microsoft, significantly precede this 2012 point. But basically, the goal was to prevent the U.S. from ever allowing boycotts of Israel at any meaningful level, by integrating companies at the same time that Netanyahu made it a deliberate policy to use a lot of these companies as fronts for either the Israeli military or for Israeli intelligence. Unfortunately, in addition to that, we also have, a significant overlap of some of these Silicon Valley billionaires and the IDF rather overtly. So Larry Ellison, who I brought up a moment ago, is, I believe, if not the leading donor, one of the most major private donors to the IDF, and is also, as we noted a moment ago, a major contractor to the U.S. national security state, and is, building a quite a massive, U.S. domestic media empire, and I believe he's going to be one of the figures involved in the takeover of TikTok that was just signed off on by Trump not that long ago.
And he's just taken CBS.
Yeah, and I think Paramount and I think a few others are. I think CNN is about to be acquired by them as well, so we'll see. But it's definitely a rapid consolidation